Okay. Apologies for that. I'm just boiling the kettle, pouring myself a cup of tea. We should be live. Was going to start this one at 6 o'clock, but unfortunately, I got a phone call just there that, I got called into work. So I'm working at 8 o'clock in the city centre tonight. A little bit short notice, but I decided to accept it. So, gonna have to do this one earlier. So, probably about 2.5 hours, something like this, something like that. And we'll see if I can cover everything I wanted to talk about. So, let me just pour my tea and I'll be right back. All right, man. Here we go. A cup of tea, get myself all caffeinated up because it's going to be a long ass evening. What's happening, guys? How's it going? So, let's see who's here. So apologies for that. I know I scheduled the stream for 6 o'clock, but as I just said there, that's not worked out because I've got to work at 8 and it'll take me about an hour to get to city centre. So I'm gonna have to wrap this one up probably about 6:30, 6:45. So got a good 2.5 hours or something. We'll do us. Yeah, how's it going, Reversely? Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's been a while since I streamed, hasn't it? It's been a couple of weeks, and a lot of crazy shit has happened in the past couple of weeks. It's been so busy. Got a lot of shit to talk about. Tell you that, a lot to talk about. Most of it nothing to do with boxing, but yeah. Yeah, how's it going, Owen? How's it going, man? Good to see you. Oh, shout out to Brandon Blanco. It's been a while, man. Yeah, it's been a while, Brandon. How you doing, man? God bless you. Yeah. 2 hours early. Yeah, exactly. Again, I was going to do it 6 o'clock. As I've explained, got a busy ass evening ahead of me, sadly. So yeah, I got to get this out of the way. I did toy with the idea of just delaying this till tomorrow, but the problem is I'm working tomorrow as well, and I've kind of got plans with the missus during the day and that. So it's just I don't know, man. I feel as if I've never got time for this now, and it's annoying me because I've all week I've had a lot of stuff to say in my mind, and then when it comes time to make a live stream, I feel as if I've not got enough time for it all, or I forget things, and it's a pain in the arse, man. 10 years ago, Pacquiao versus Mayweather, and Pacquiao's still fighting, and he's fighting young, tough fighters while Mayweather fights in fake exhibitions. Look, let's not beat around the bush here. Mayweather has always fought in fake exhibitions his whole career, so it's nothing new. And Manny has always been the guy who's had genuine career-defining fights. So what's happening with Manny doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that he's coming back even in his late 40s because I always thought about Manny. He seemed to me to be one of these guys who was kind of addicted to it. He was kind of addicted to the sport, addicted to fighting, addicted to the adrenaline. He's just a fighting man. And I don't think he can walk away. I feel like Manny is just one of them guys. It's kind of like a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. He just can't walk away from the sport. He's obsessed with it and he's addicted to it. And as we talked about in my last stream, I do feel like he needs the money. I feel as if his political career and his gambling debts and whatnot, I feel like all of that has sort of culminated in Pacquiao feeling like fighting is his only option. So yeah, that's another situation there. Yeah, how's it going, Bruce? Good to see you here, man. Every time. Your mate Taylor took his anger out on Baby Boy Edwards. Yeah, he slapped him, didn't he? Yeah, I saw that on Triple B's channel. Yeah, I was at the Taylor fight, by the way, and it was quite an interesting situation because my mate who I was there with is good friends with Echo Esserman, and obviously I'm rooting for Josh and all that. So it was kind of awkward, like we was both sitting there, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was some card though, wasn't it? Like what was funny because we went there, we got to the event at about 6:30, and every single fight prior to the main event, every single one of them ended within 4 rounds. They were all knockouts, all of them. So the main event was on, I think, before like 9:30 or something. Like it was such a quick event, it just flew by. And we basically left the event at about 10:30. And we got home and we had time to play some Xbox and that when we got in. So it was quite a good night. I enjoyed it. Like I really did. But I was kind of like, it was kind of sad to watch with Josh Taylor because what I was going to make a video about it, but again, I just don't have the time. What it kind of confirmed to me about Josh Taylor was his heart's just not really in boxing anymore. Like it was a situation because you see the first round or the first few rounds, it was dominant. And I remember I was sitting there with my mate and like, because the first round Taylor came out and he was doing things he hasn't done in a while. You know, he was using his jab. He had the high guard. You know, he was back to his boxing fundamentals. And Echo Esserman just couldn't stand it. He had no clue what to do. He was getting beaten up. He was getting backed up. And Taylor looked strong at the weight. Everything looked good. But I feel like by about round 4, because Echo Esserman is one of these guys, and I talked about that in my video, and I said this was a potential upset. And by the way, between you and me, I made a bit of money off it. But yeah, we'll get to that later. What was I going to say? Echo Esserman is one of these guys. He's very, very tough, very, very fit. He works hard, that guy. Like he really lives the life, and he just didn't stop trying. He didn't lose heart. And I feel like when Josh couldn't get him out of there early, he just lost interest. I don't even think he gassed. I just think Josh, like I said, his heart's not in boxing anymore. And it's like he was hitting Esserman with all he had in the first few rounds, and he didn't go anywhere. He was still hanging in there and still trying. So Taylor just kind of, I'm not saying like he bottled it, but he didn't really go out there and put it on his, go out on his shield to get the win. And I kind of feel like he just thought, I've dominated the first few rounds. I don't really have to do anything here. I'm not going to lose on the cards. And then he just stopped fighting. Like he just stopped boxing because again, I don't think his heart's really in it. So it's like he just kind of mentally checked out, if you know what I mean. So that was what happened, I thought. But it was a disappointing result in the sense that it was a winnable fight. It's one he really should have been winning. But I remember around about round 5, I actually turned to my mate. And again, he was rooting for Echo Esserman because they're friends, right? I turned to him and I said to him, I was like, even if Josh gets through this and gets the win, he's not going to be world champion again. That was my exact words. I said, even if he gets through this fight and wins it, he's not going to be world champion. And my mate said to me, he said, I don't think either of them will, because he's talking about Echo. That was kind of our sentiment at the end of the fight was Echo is basically British level, domestic level. And Josh was world level, but he's not that level anymore. And my idea is if he can't beat a guy who's at that level, then he's not going to be champion. So yeah, I think it was kind of sad to watch in that sense, but it was a good event. Like I really enjoyed the event. It was fun. And again, we went home after and played some Xbox, so it was all good. And yeah, about Manny Pacquiao, what was I saying? Like I said, I just feel like Pacquiao. It's a combination of so many things. One is again, it's a type of obsessive compulsive disorder. He just can't give up boxing. Like his heart is still in it even at 46. Right, he still trains like a world champion. He still lives the life and all that. But it's a situation where I feel as if his mind knows he can do things, but his body won't permit it. I cannot see Pacquiao going in there and putting on a world-class performance over 12 rounds. I just can't see him doing it. And that actually makes me kind of worried for him because again, it's a combination of him being obsessed with boxing and not being able to give it up, but also needing the money. Like, because Pacquiao, again, he had that very, very expensive political campaign. He's had gambling problems, all sorts of issues over the years. And I feel as if it's just a combination of all these things that are keeping him in boxing when he really shouldn't be. Because he's got nothing else to prove, nothing else to achieve. He's 46, and he's broken records in boxing. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting situation. I'll definitely be watching it. Like I'll definitely tune into it because it's at very least it's an interesting curiosity to see what Manny has left. You know, and if there's any champion in and around about those weight categories that Manny can beat, it's Mario Barrios. If it's anybody, because stylistically he is exactly the kind of guy that Manny's good against. You know. Yeah, how's it going, man? God bless you. Yo, how's it going, man? In the middle of exams at the moment, so very stressed. Oh, is that right, Larry? What kind of exams is it? Or is it like GCSEs or whatever? Yeah, man, I didn't turn up to most of my exams, if I remember rightly. But yeah, I wouldn't stress over it if I was you. Just because if you stress over it, all that will happen is you'll end up like bottling it. You know, when it comes time to remember everything, you know. Pacquiao's going to get chinned. He's way too old and inactive. I could see it. But like I said, if there's anybody at world level in and around about those weight categories, like welterweight or 154 or whatever, if there's anybody around about that level that's got a title he can beat, it is Barrios. But even at that, like I don't think Manny will stop him. So like I think he's going to need to go 12 rounds. Hurting my back sitting there. But yeah, I think he's going to need to go 12 rounds. And I'm not so sure he can at this stage of his career. Well, I'm not saying he can't go 12 rounds, but I'm not sure if he can go 12 rounds at a decent pace. Like, I'm really not sure if he can. Yeah, how's it going, man? Pulev versus Hunter is official for August 23rd. I heard that fight had a purse bid. I didn't know it was official, though. Where's the fight going to be taking place? Because that's an interesting one to me. That's a tough fight to call, actually, at this point, because Pulev is, 44, shot to pieces. But again, another guy who, even in his advanced age, still lives the life, keeps fit and strong and whatnot. And Hunter is a guy who was very good a few years ago, but seems to have, like, fallen off a cliff in recent years. Like Hunter has not looked good in about 5 years. So that's a 50-50 fight for me. I don't know who to go with there. I'd have to like really think about it and do some due diligence to see who I think is going to win that. And I'd like to know where it is. True. And Mayweather ain't as rich as he says he is. A lot of these boxers aren't. Yeah. Well, again, that's been covered time and time again. Mayweather himself likes to gamble, doesn't he? And he's all about having money is kind of his brand. So. He's a big spender. It's well known that he's a big spender. So I wouldn't doubt that he wasn't as rich as he makes out, how the media says as well. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know. It's a situation where, like I said, he's money Mayweather. That's who he is. He's all about the money. So if he's not throwing his dollars around and like spending like crazy, it's not good for his brand, is it? Yeah, Taylor should retire. Like, I've not said before openly that he should retire, but I am saying it now. I think that the time has come where enough is enough. Like if he's losing to someone, no disrespect to Echo Esserman, I like the guy, but no disrespect to him. But if Taylor's losing to a guy like that, or if he's going like because he could have gotten the decision. It was a very close fight. I actually had him winning on the night, believe it or not. But if he can't conclusively beat a guy like Echo Esserman, he's not going to win a world title, is he? And what is the point in going back to domestic level when he's been an undisputed lineal champion? I don't see the point. So I agree. I do think at this point in time, and I'll stand by this, I think he should retire. I do. I think, like I said, his heart's not in boxing. But like it's kind of sad because like Taylor, without a shadow of a doubt, is above that level. Right? Again, this is a guy who broke records as far as British boxing is concerned. I mean, well, as far as boxing is concerned, I mean, he became undisputed lineal champion in just 18 fights. The only fighter to ever do that in the history of boxing is Usyk. But let's be honest, Usyk is the elite of the elite. Right? When we're talking about Usyk is, how can I best describe it? Like he's a different standard. Like Usyk is a verified, certified, all-time great pound for pound fighter. That's what Usyk is. Like Usyk is a pound for pound verified all-time great. So you can't really hold anybody to Usyk's standard, right? Taylor's not on the level of Usyk. Okay, that's pretty obvious. So the fact that Usyk is the only other guy in boxing to have matched Josh Taylor's accomplishment, I think really says a lot for how far Josh Taylor went and how good he was. I think people, I kind of feel like, let's say if he retires now, in like 10 years' time, people will look back on Taylor's career very fondly, and they'll remember how good he was because he set a new standard, particularly for British boxing, because nobody else in Britain has come anywhere close to being undisputed lineal champion in the four belt era. None of them came anywhere near as close to doing it in 18 fights. And it's funny because I seen a few comments in the aftermath of the fight. Like I saw Hawker Mustang and some of the other lads like saying some really dumb shit. Like saying, no, but he was a weight bully. I was actually going to make a video about this term weight bully in boxing because it's starting to really piss me off. So he's saying that, but basically Hawker Mustang said this, and I'm disappointed in Hawker Mustang because I know he knows better, right? I expect this from some of the black tards. I don't expect that from him. But he said the only reason Taylor was successful is because he's big for the weight, right? Now let's just ignore the fact that he's not that much bigger than some of the guys he fought. All right, guys like Ramirez, Prograis, Postal, some of those guys were even bigger, right? But that's neither here nor there. My argument is, if the only let's bear in mind, Josh Taylor in 18 pro fights became undisputed and lineal champion, right? Something no one else besides Usyk has ever done in boxing, right? If it was all because he was big for the weight, then please explain to me why every single fighter in boxing who is big for their weight, some of which much bigger than Josh Taylor, for example, if it's so easy, why haven't all these guys replicated what he did? Why isn't Jaron Ennis undisputed and lineal champion? Why is he fighting overmatched opponents who are half his size? It doesn't make sense. Like, what? I mean, you want to talk about weight bullies? Look at Tyson Fury. What? Again, I know it's heavyweight, but Tyson Fury has had in excess of 50 pounds on a lot of his opponents, and that's completely ignoring the height and weight advantage or the height and reach advantage he has on a lot of his opponents. How come he's not undisputed lineal champion? Again, this term weight bully, the idea that going the extra mile in boxing to make weight somehow gives you an advantage, it's asinine to me. And the fact that people are just ignoring Taylor's accomplishments because he essentially had to work around an eating disorder to make weight, that somehow gave him an advantage. I can't get my head around it. I've thought about making a video, but do I really need to stoop to that level? Do I really need to give that level of stupidity my attention? I really don't think I do. So yeah, like I don't want to say too much more about Josh Taylor in this stream because it's not about him. But what I will say is, dude's a legend, right? What he's done in boxing, and there's a lot of resentment towards him from the British boxing fraternity because he achieved what no one else over here has been able to do, and probably no one else will do. Let's be honest. I mean, who in British boxing right now is going to be undisputed lineal champion, and who's going to do it in 18 fights? Nobody. So I kind of feel like there's a lot of resentment for Josh Taylor because of that, and I hope he retires. I really do, because he's kind of, I don't know, if he keeps losing to kind of domestic level guys, I feel like it'll eat into his legacy and damage it a bit, kind of like what happened to Roy Jones. But if he retires now, I think people will look back at his career very fondly, and they'll remember how good he was. I really do. So yeah, that's my little rant there. Like, just the whole weight bully nonsense doesn't make any sense. That's why you never hear me use that term, because again, anybody who has lost weight and anybody who who knows anything about the human body and sports and athletics knows that that's a retarded comment. Like, honestly, it really is. Yeah, I agree. His heart hasn't been in boxing for a while. I think he gave up on boxing mentally after the Ramirez fight, Because it's almost as if this is the thing with Josh Taylor. It's almost as if he achieved too much. He achieved too much too quickly, because he turned pro like with out of the Commonwealth Games. He was a good amateur, but he wasn't an elite amateur. He wasn't like an Usyk or a Lomachenko. Like guys like Usyk, they're the elite of the elite as far as amateurs are concerned. You know, he wasn't like a Sven Otke. He wasn't that level amateur. He didn't have hundreds of fights and win numerous tournaments. Like, no, he was a Commonwealth Games gold medalist, and he was a very good amateur, right? But he wasn't on that level. Again, he wasn't. I'm the reason I'm mentioning guys like Usyk, Lomachenko, Sven Otke, because those are examples of fighters who were fast tracked, right? Great amateurs, elite amateurs who were fast tracked to world level and did so very successfully. Now, Josh Taylor did not have that level of experience from the amateurs, but he was able to turn pro, and things sort of worked out to where he was kind of given the opportunity to test himself very early on. He fought world-class opponents, like pretty much like just a couple of years into his career. As soon as he beat like Dave Ryan, who was his first like domestic level test, like his first rival at domestic level, he basically jumped straight up to world level after that. And he achieved so much so quickly that I think to the point where he fought Jose Ramirez and consolidated all the belts and became undisputed lineal champion. I feel like at that point he felt like he clocked the game. Like he put so much into it, so much into making weight and living the life and this, that, and the other, that I feel like it kind of demoralized him a bit. It's like, because a lot of fighters, when you're a fighter who gets to world level, but you're not fast tracked, right? Basically, when you work your way up the ranks, British, Commonwealth, European level, you fight for intercontinental titles, you fight rival contenders, rival domestic level guys. That's a process that most fighters go through, where they're able to develop certain instincts and certain skills, and they're able to fine tune their technique, refine their technique, condition themselves for like a hard 12-round fight. That's a lot of stuff that you learn over several years of development. And when you fast track a fighter, the problem is when you do that, you fast track the fighter, you miss out on that development. And again, it works if you're like an elite amateur who fought like for a long, long time and had hundreds of fights. Like again, Sven Otke, prime example. That guy had 300 odd amateur fights. He was the elite of the elite as far as amateurs are concerned. So he was able to become world champion after 11 fights. And go on to have like a really, really good run at world level that lasted years. And we're seeing that now with guys like Usyk, right? Josh Taylor did not have that level of amateur experience, and he didn't have that kind of development that you need. So when he got to world level, he essentially got there with very little experience, and he didn't develop the kind of tests or the kind of he didn't have the kind of developmental fights you need to stay at that level. And by the way, Anthony Joshua, and I was going to talk about this too, Anthony Joshua had the exact same problem. See, Anthony Joshua came out the amateurs, good amateur, Olympic gold medalist and whatnot, but he didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't have a lot of fights by the standard of most top level amateurs. So when Anthony Joshua got to world level, right, he got there basically on pure talent and just things working out well for him. But when he got there, he wasn't able to stay there because Anthony Joshua missed out on years of development that most like top level fighters get from their amateur careers and their lower level pro career because he was fast tracked. Well, it's the same problem with Josh Taylor, but to a much worse extent. Like he did not have anywhere near the development you need to stay at world level and to basically have a lot of longevity there. You know, he was thrown in at the deep end, fought and beat back-to-back undefeated world-class guys, achieved everything there was to achieve, undisputed lineal champion, and that was it. Like it was like in his mind, he's done everything. Why does he need to improve? Why does he need to keep training? That's the problem when you get too much too quickly. It's like if you win the lottery, right? And you win loads of money and you end up spending it all because you've never had money before and you don't know what to do. That's kind of what it's like in boxing. If you achieve everything so quickly, you don't really feel the need to keep improving and keep working on things. And that's what I think was one of the Definitely it was a problem with Anthony Joshua, and I think it was an even bigger problem with Josh Taylor. I really do. So yeah, that's my explanation there. But still, I'm happy he was able to achieve what he did. You know, I really am. If I get into power, I want to close the door on outsiders. But nah, you won't get into power. You're controlled opposition. Mayweather is empty inside, even though he's been extremely successful. You tell he's a miserable guy. Part of the reason is he knows he's a fraud. Yeah, he knows he's fake. He knows he's fake. He knows he's just an actor, a sideshow, and he can't be particularly pleased with himself, can he? I reckon Pacquiao beats Barrios. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said before, look, to me, it all depends on if at 46 years old can he go 12 rounds. That's what it matters to me. You know, can he go 12 rounds at his age at a decent pace to win the fight? I'm not sure, but I'll tell you one thing: I'll watch it. I'm interested to see it. I genuinely am. It's a curiosity for me. Oh, exams are for your third year at uni. Yeah, good luck to you, man. God bless you. Wonder what Pacroid's cycle schedule would be. I don't know, man. No idea. Probably a good one. I mean, he's got the money, hasn't he, to get a good quality gear, you know. When you first said Canelo's fights were rigged, I didn't believe you until I saw Canelo's last fight with that tall black Cuban guy. Canelo literally didn't throw a single jab in the first round. Yeah, all of Canelo's fights are sparring sessions, as I've been saying for years. The fact that some people still can't see it is not a very good look for society, is it? It's not a very good look at all. Yeah, Hunter's definitely a lot closer to his prime. But to be fair, he's looked awful in recent fights. I mean, he had that draw against Jerry Forrest, who Pulev easily beat. You know, he's looked very, very. I thought he clearly lost to Povetkin. I think that Hunter is past his prime as well, even though Pulev is a lot older. No official location for the fight. Don King won the purse bid. Oh, bro, I tell you right now, if Don King won the purse bid, then I favor Hunter because Don King, whenever Don King is involved in a fight, it's just flat out rigged. Like I can't imagine any fight involving Don King being remotely real. I can't imagine it. I wish Usyk had fought Parker or Caballel instead of giving Dubois a rematch he doesn't deserve. Mate, it still pisses me off that Usyk has agreed to fight Dubois again. Cannot, for the life of me, get my head around it. Look, what does he have to gain from it? Seriously, what does he have to gain from it? Nothing. What, the IBF belt that he's already had? Who cares about that? It's like they'll probably just strip him immediately anyway. So, complete joke, in my opinion. Shouldn't be happening. Usyk has absolutely no reason to take the fight. He's got nothing to gain from it. I don't know what he's playing at. They must have offered him a lot of money. They must have. Should Usyk be criticised for fighting Dubois, who doesn't deserve it? Well, there's definitely better fights for him, more meaningful fights. You know, I would rather see him fight Ajit Caballel. I'd rather see him fight Joseph Parker. Those are more meaningful opponents, more deserving opponents, in my opinion, than Dubois. You know, the Scottish card was good. Lee McGregor got folded. Mate, Lee McGregor. I got to be perfectly honest. I don't think I've ever seen, aside from maybe Joe Joyce, I don't think I've ever seen a fighter decline in terms of their skills. Like, I've seen, obviously, fighters decline physically, but Lee McGregor's skills declined so much. Like, if you look at his early fights, he had a great jab. He was good on the back foot. He would get inside and maul you and throw hooks and uppercuts. You know, he would use feints. Lee McGregor, all he does now is walk forward and jump on you and put you in a headlock. That's all he does now. Like, he literally, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to his skill set, to his boxing brain. I don't know if he's on drugs or something, or if he's brain damaged, but he has completely lost the plot and he's forgot how to fight. And Nathaniel Collins absolutely wrecked him. That fight was not competitive at all. Like, I picked Collins to win that fight. I thought he was going to win, but I picked him to win on points. I didn't think he'd stop McGregor, but he went in there and set about him and won easily. Like, McGregor just looked beyond shot. beyond shot. Would have been a good fight a couple of years ago, though. But that Nathaniel Collins looks pretty good, and I think he's on the verge of becoming mandatory for the WBC title. So he might get a shot at Stephen Fulton. And I got to be honest, I think he could beat Fulton, because I don't rate Fulton at all. He's got no power. He's kind of chinny. I think Nathaniel Collins could beat him. So yeah, Glasgow could have another world champion there. He had a lot of fans in the crowd, by the way. Nathaniel Collins, he's starting to get quite popular. I actually used to spar with one of his friends. One of the clips I showed years ago, like a couple of years back, a guy I was sparring with was a good friend of his. I think they've trained together and that. And yeah, I've been sparring a lot since my last stream as well, by the way, and it's gone pretty well. It's gone. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, I've had some pretty good spars since that last stream, and I've not been getting marked up, and I've been doing the marking kind of thing. I told you guys I was going to change my approach. I remember Pac-Man going bankrupt during his career due to tax, but yeah, he did. He had a lot of tax to pay and gambling debts. Remember that? There was that story about Bob Arum having to pay his gambling debts or something. Don't know if that was true or not. That was what was reported at the time, though. You know. Only thing I'm excited for an Usyk Dubois rematch is a Don Charles crash out when Dubois quits again. Hopefully, you know. Hopefully Dubois quits again, and then Don Charles will threaten to punch anybody who says that thingy. Who says Dubois quit even when he did. So basically, punch anybody who speaks the truth. Is that what he's saying? You know, I would love for that guy to try to punch me, Don Charles. That's one of them guys. One of them, you know, tough guys who walks around like raising his fist at everybody. Look how high. I would love for him to do that to me. I would. I reckon they knew Parker had the beating of Dubois. He's milking Dubois until his floor shogun. Yeah, well, it definitely seemed to me like Dubois bottled it and pulled out of that fight, because he looked fine in training. He looked in great shape. Day before the fight, oh, I'm sick. I can't. Like, what? Like, I don't believe it. I think they bottled it. I think they saw Parker was coming for the win. He was coming for the knockout. You saw how Parker looked in the Bakoli fight, how he was sitting on his punches, throwing with proper power. Dubois doesn't like that. He doesn't like the idea of an opponent going in there set about him. So I think he bottled it. I genuinely do. I rewatched Fury versus Usyk 1 and had it 114-113 Fury. Really? I don't know how you could come to that conclusion, mate. I don't know how you can come to that. I honestly don't. I thought it was a pretty clear 8-4 or very, very much at a push 7-5 for Usyk. I don't think there's any. I can't see an argument for Fury. I thought Usyk was a clear, genuine winner. You know, I had it 8-4 for Usyk. I could see 7-5 though. Usyk will have more fans at Wembley than Dubois. Do you know, that wouldn't surprise me? It wouldn't surprise me. There will be a lot of shouting, pisshead football fans that are cheering for Dubois, but Usyk's got a lot of fans like in the UK, like hardcore fans like us. You know. Like, remember when Lomachenko fought Luke Campbell in London, and most of the crowd were there for Lomachenko, which surprised me, you know. And Usyk's probably more popular here than Lomachenko is, because Usyk's fought here more successfully, you know. I want to see Usyk shatter Dubois. Dubois has no business fighting Usyk after ducking pot. Yeah, Dubois shouldn't have gotten the fight, but at the end of the day, Usyk signed the contract now. The fight's going to happen. Whatever happens, happens. I'm kind of a little. I wouldn't say I'm nervous, but I'm concerned, because I feel like the referee and the judges will do everything to give Dubois a chance of winning that fight. You know. Yeah, that's the thing. Chavez Jr. is a genuine, one of the few genuine examples of a weight bully, because I believe he's a guy who cheated the scales and used diuretics to basically drain down to the weight, then bulk himself up with drugs. So I do believe that's an example right there of a weight bully. But a guy who's genuinely making weight, like if you're on the scales weighing the same as your opponent, you're both weighing in at the same weight, then you're not a weight bully. especially like I'll give you an example. Someone who is a weight bully, right? An even better example than Chavez Jr. Someone like Tony Jeffries. Tony Jeffries was a weight bully. That's an example right there of a weight bully because he was a guy who he would fight. His opponents would have to undertake a dehydration clause, whereas he could weigh whatever he wanted. So he's essentially weakening his opponents, starving his opponents, dehydrating his opponents, while he comes in there fully hydrated and well fed and as heavy as he wants, as hydrated as he needs to be. That's my idea of a weight bully. A guy making weight doesn't make them a weight bully. So if I see anybody on here saying, "Oh, Josh Taylor was a weight bully," I'll just block you. I'm not dealing with that shit because he objectively wasn't. All right. If he's making weight, if you're legitimately making weight and you're not draining the life out of your opponent, you're not a weight bully. So keep that nonsense off of my channel. Is what it is. Crawford has insisted on no weight stipulation for Canelo fight. Said he doesn't care what Canelo weighs on the night of the fight. Well, yeah, I respect that absolutely. And it's good to see him do that because I know Crawford has had weight stipulations in the past, but thankfully he's not doing it in the Canelo fight. But that could be because it's a fake fight. Who knows? But I think Crawford beats Canelo anyway. Even if Canelo came in weighing 190, I still think Crawford would outbox him. I genuinely do. I reckon the AJ that fought Klitschko could destroy Dubois or make him quit. I agree. But I think AJ is another guy who his heart's not in boxing anymore, just like Josh Taylor's. He achieved too much too quickly, and he didn't think he needed to develop, and that was one of his biggest problems. That's just what happens. That's the risk that you run when you fast track a guy to world level. Even if he gets to world level, he most likely isn't going to stay there, because it's going to take too much out of them, and they're not going to develop enough, Josh Taylor united the super lightweight division. That's a big feat. Yeah, he did, and did so. Like I said, did so in 18 fights against back-to-back world-class competition, and did so on the road. So again, what Josh Taylor did in boxing, it's legendary as far as I'm concerned. And when you look back on it in retrospect, it looks even a lot better than it did at the time. So, like the fact he's losing at sort of British domestic level now, to me, is just an indication that his heart's not in it. That's all it is, You talked about how Jose Ramirez took a dive standing up against Haney. Yeah, he just stood there and did nothing. Jose Ramirez would beat Haney if he just threw punches, if he just applied pressure. Because Devin Haney's a chinless, feather-fisted hype job. Any half-decent boxer beats him. I mean, he lost to Ryan Garcia. Come on, man. I reckon the Black Tords said it, but they never say anything about Haney. Yeah, I know. I reckon Moses Itauma hype job looks wide open. Well, I think with Moses Itauma, I think he's another guy who they need to be quite careful with him, and they need to cool it with the hype. Because I said this on my last stream, Moses Itauma he looks very talented. He looks powerful. He looks fast, but he hasn't fought anybody yet. So when the media are coming out and saying he's going to be the youngest heavyweight champion ever, he's going to beat Usyk, all that blah blah blah, they're just putting the pressure on the guy that he doesn't need. Let the guy develop. Let him have some domestic level fights and fights away from the spotlight before we put him on this pedestal as the future heavyweight great and all that. That's what they did with Anthony Joshua, and look how that turned out. Just let the guy develop out of the spotlight, away from the limelight. Let him build up his reputation and his experience, But yeah, Devin Haney is one of the he is another example of a guy who's just massive for the weight, but they don't have any criticism for that, do they? Dubois lands a low blow on Usyk. Adam Smith. Howard Foster has waved it up. Dubois is undisputed. And the normies will shout, "Oh, Daniel Dubois." Yeah, they will. There'll be one big section of the crowd going, "Oh, Daniel Dubois." Oh, man. What a joke. Strange. Billy Nelson claims Bacoli is a Scottish vegetarian. Mate, if Bacoli is a vegetarian, then I'm like the Queen of France. Unless he just eats like crisps and bread all day or something. That guy's not a vegetarian. Come on, man. Oh, Daniel Dubois. English drunkards. Oh, Daniel Dubois. Bacoli had so much momentum and lost it all in a few months. Yeah, because again, Bacoli just doesn't live the life. I mean, he's weighed what, 310 pounds or something for fights. There's no reason for him to be over 300 pounds. He's too heavy. That's too heavy. He should be about 270, 280 at very most, I think. Good afternoon. Yeah, how's it going, man? Currently on my break, craziest day at work. Yeah, how's it going, man? What, are you working security? Is that what it is? I'm doing security tonight. I'm working at a club. Yeah, I start at 8 o'clock. So I'll probably need to end this about 6:45, 6:50, something like that. That's why I started it earlier. Pac was outgunned against Ugas. Well, Barrios isn't on the level of Ugas. I'm concerned Barrios won't come in the ring displaying full effort, which then gives Pac a chance to win and fight again. I don't know, man. I don't think I'll make a prediction for that fight because I just don't know what both guys' condition is going to be. But I definitely don't know what Manny's condition is going to be at 46. Can he go 12 rounds? Can he even go 12 rounds at a good pace? That exhibition he had earlier this year, or was it last year? He only went 3 rounds, and he seemed like he was blowing a bit in the 3rd round. So I don't know, man. I'm concerned for Manny. I really am. Did you see Frank Warren backtracking on Itauma versus Bacoli? All of a sudden got cold feet, saying Bacoli doesn't deserve the fight. Well, if Itauma, and I'm not saying he should take that fight, by the way, but if Itauma is as like, if he's as good as they're making him out to be in the media, then he should be able to beat Bacoli, right? But it would be foolish to take that fight. Be foolish. Itauma's not ready for that level of fight, as far as I'm concerned. He's still a prospect. The guy's only 19, allegedly, and if they want him to develop, they'll need to be a little bit cautious with who they put him in with. I mean, losing's not the end of the world, but you put him in with Bacoli, that's a potential like brutal knockout loss. How beneficial is that to him at this stage of his career at 19 years old? I don't know. I would be careful with Itauma. He's only 19. Give him at least another 2 years of development and then see how he is. Maybe explore a Bacoli fight then, Fortunately, Benavidez wants to fight William Skull. I wouldn't watch it. Why does he want that fight? I'm pretty sure Benavidez has been chasing Canelo. Isn't that the fight he wants? I would have thought so, Hunter wasn't the same after the beating he took in the Povetkin fight. Yeah. And people say he won that fight. Mate, Povetkin dominated that fight. I think I had it like 10 rounds to 2. I don't think it was close. He put a beating on the guy. Like, Hunter had a good first round. He hurt Povetkin in the first round. Aside from that, Povetkin completely controlled that fight and he put a beating on him and he won easily, in my opinion. Again, I think I had it 10 rounds to 2 for Povetkin. Yeah, how is Don King still around? Yeah, a lot of people don't even know he's still alive, but he is. But whenever he's involved in a fight, there's always some sort of skullduggery every single time. That you just can't avoid it with Don King, I like the Usyk versus Dubois fight. Hope he beats him even worse this time. Yeah, man. Like again, it's just annoying me, that fight. It's annoying me that it's even gotten made. There's no need for it whatsoever. It's just so. It's probably the most pointless rematch ever since Kovalev fighting Pascal in a rematch. Yeah, how's it going, Powell? Good to see you, man. Yeah, I just don't know if Pacquiao can go 12 rounds at 46. I don't know. That's my only concern. I know he can outbox Barrios, but can he outbox him for 12 rounds? Don't know, man. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah, how's it going, man? Yeah, I don't know either. By the time Usyk fights Dubois, they will have 3 WBA heavyweight champs. Yeah, the WBA likes their multiple title holders, don't they? So yeah, that's just a thing that they do. But yeah, and technically there's only 2 actual world champions, and one of them's the interim champion. I don't think they've ever actually had 3 like genuine world titles, but That's been a thing for a long time. The WBA like super title and the WBA title, that's been a that's been a long time thing. Oh yeah, by the way, I've got a packet of Love Hearts. I won them at a carnival today. Well, I say carnival, it was kind of an arcade. And it was funny, they had at the arcade, they had like this game. It was it, it was a Kung Fu Panda like punching game. So it's like the things come up on screen and you punch the little pads and it scores. I did it a few times. I actually got a video of it. I'm considering uploading it. It'd be quite funny. I don't know whether I will or not. Let me know if you'd be interested. But yeah, I'm the Dragon Warrior now. Fulton is the guy who the WBC or the LDBC were hyping up, saying he would be Inoue. And then never mentioned him again when he got chinned. Yeah. Yeah, Fulton's the guy who fought Inoue. And I made a video at the time. Numerous people in comment sections and numerous people in videos were saying he was going to expose Inoue. Inoue's never fought a slick black fighter. And Fulton was going to go in there and destroy him or give him a boxing lesson, school the guy. And Inoue just absolutely smashed him. He went in there and smashed him. It wasn't even a remotely competitive fight. Won every second, every moment of the fight, and predictably just gave the guy a beating. And I feel like a lot of the people who were picking Fulton to win that fight, I don't think they even believed it. I think they were just saying it because just in case if he did win, they could say, see, I called this. I called the upset. Morons. I doubt they were betting on him. I made 70 quid, by the way, betting on Echo Esserman because I managed to get him at 3-1. And yeah, I bet 20. So it was a £50 profit. Yeah, so that was all right. Technically, I straddled it with £2 on a draw, so it was technically a £48 profit. But it was all right. It made a bit of money, and my mate made some money on it too because we both bet on Echo. But yeah, I bet very few people were betting on Stephen Fulton. McCauley doesn't deserve triple deal. Usyk plus those fights aren't even possible. McCauley versus Itauma. I don't know if Itauma will fight McCauley. I think his team. I know they're hyping the crap out of him right now. I don't think they're that crazy. I don't think they're going to put him in with Coley next. Nordic getting his sparring back in blood. Oh, mate, I had some good sparring session. Again, I tell you, I've been going to 2 different gyms. I had a very, very good sparring session the other day, where I kind of got my own back. Kind of smashed somebody's nose and made them quit. I don't want to say too much about it, but it was good. I had one a couple of days before it where I set about someone too. I've kind of changed my approach to sparring. I'm going into sparring now. Guys, I'm very passive aggressive in sparring. I kind of am guilty of just sitting back and blocking and being too nice and basically just letting my opponent work and stuff like that. But now I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm taking the Rocky Marciano approach to sparring. I'm just going in there and letting my hands go, and it's been very different. Very different, I'll tell you that. And I've been getting hit less, and I've been landing more shots, as a result of it. And I'm hoping to spar again on Monday. So yeah, give a reason why Americans will pay a pay-per-view or a live ticket to Patton versus Barrett. Well, because Pacquiao is a known boxing legend, so a lot of people are going to want to see him. There's definitely going to be a lot of. There's no doubt about that. If Nordic hit Don Charles, he'd be arrested for a hate crime. Yeah, mate. If I hit Don Charles once with like an overhand right, he'd probably collapse and he'd probably die or something. That probably would be the case. But he said anybody who says that Dubois quit, he'll punch him in the face. So all I'd have to say is, well, I feared for my life. I thought he was going to punch me. So there you go. 114, 113. I must be the judge that Fury paid off. Yeah. No, I bet on Usyk actually, but I thought Fury did better work in the early rounds. I thought Fury only won 4 rounds. I gave Usyk like the first 3, I gave the next 4 to Fury. Then I gave all the rest of them to Usyk. So to me, it was a clear 8-4. But I could see an argument for a 7-5, you know. But I had it 8-4. Usyk did more pay-per-view than Fury when it was come to fighting Chisora. And Fury has the nerve to call Usyk a nobody, yeah. Well, he lost to a nobody. If he's calling Usyk a nobody, well, he lost to a nobody twice. So what does that say about him, you know? I do believe Usyk has a layer of protection. Guys like Beterbiev, Loma, and Triple G don't. As Usyk's yet to be robbed. Yeah, it has occurred to me that Usyk has had several opportunities to be robbed and it hasn't happened, but there's a first time for everything. There's a first time for everything. Bear that in mind. Yeah. It's not, at this point, it's not even just rumours. Taylor is an alcoholic and a drug addict. I've been told by plenty of people that he's into that sort of stuff, you know. Is what it is. That sort of stuff doesn't mix with boxing, you know. I rewatched the second Cotto Margarito fight the other day. I'm convinced that the fight had been allowed to go on, Cotto would have been stopped. I agree. I said so at the time. Cotto was getting beaten up in that fight. He was gassing. He was on the verge of quitting. And Margarito got jobbed. They robbed him of it because it was supposed to be that was a predetermined result. It was supposed to be Cotto's revenge. He beat the cheater. That was supposed to be the result. So that was the result that the ringside officials came up with, was that, you know. They came up with Cotto's amazing revenge story, beating up the cheater. That was what it was supposed to be from the very beginning, you know. Regardless of the boxer's nationality and where they're fighting, genuine people recognize who is who. That's why Loma and Usyk are called people champions. Absolutely. And that's why they're genuine world champions. You know, they're not just like, title holders. They're world champions, you know, because they fight anywhere and they're recognized, you know. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, how's it going, man? God bless you. Joshua never recovered from the humiliation against Ruiz. Boxing fans know Ruiz is better than he looks, but casual fans saw him getting smacked up by a chubby midget. Yeah, casual fans who don't know a lot about essentially that boxing isn't all about looks. They don't realize that, you know, you could be a guy who's a bit chubby and you know, you don't look like an athlete. You're not a bodybuilder, but you could still fight. And that was definitely the case with Ruiz. And just seeing a guy like Ruiz deck a guy who's taller than him and who's a big roided up bodybuilder, like it's not a good look for AJ's reputation. And I think he never really recovered from that mentally, you know. That's how I see it anyway. Yeah, how based is Poland these days? Yeah, insert name here chants, I cringe. Yeah, oh, Daniel Dubois. It's so funny, man. Oh, where was I? I'm losing my place on the chat here. The women try it on with you, Nordic. Check your surroundings before. Yeah, check if anybody's listening before. They can be quite flirtatious. Like, see, when you work in the doors, women can be quite flirtatious. But I've never had anything like too egregious. No, it's lucky I'm not that good looking. Otherwise, I'd probably have to deal with more than that, you know. But yeah, they can be quite flirtatious. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes they grab you and like want to whisper into your ear and all that, and yeah, you just deal with it. They got Poland too. The world is doomed. Triple B is going off the rails with these videos on Big John and the Knife Suite, mate. The one he made about Big John Fisher, I was pissing myself. I watched it this morning. I was in stitches. Oh man, I couldn't hold it. The other one where he's ordering the Chinese. He's like, "Oi, I'm fucking famished." And he's like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning or something, and he's ordering a big ass Chinese, and he's like, my son's gonna pay for it. Oh, I was pissing myself, man. That was too funny. But I talk about like gimmicks in boxing, man. Like, I've got nothing against Johnny Fisher. I think he's a nice guy, and I think he's decent at, like, you know, that level, just area level, English level, whatnot. But like, I feel like it's a bit weird how he's become so popular and so famous just because his dad is a fat guy who says "bosh" in interviews. Like, that's literally Johnny Fisher's claim to fame, that his dad says "bosh" in interviews. That, like, I don't know, man. Maybe people find that amusing. I don't know, man. I do. I find it amusing. I mean, I find it weird how people find that amusing enough to pay for tickets. It says a lot. Not enough people mentioning how Crawford ducked all the smoke at 154. Yeah, Crawford got a taste of 154 when life and death with a 10 and 0 and 1 prospect, and then realized it wasn't for him. So he's fighting Canelo for a cash out fight. Which is a much easier fight. Povetkin also dropped Hunter. Yeah, that's true. He dropped him, and it wasn't counted. I thought he won easily. I don't even think it was close, to be honest. I mean, the day after tomorrow, we'll have results of presidential elections, which, depending on who's going to be elected, our country makeup will be changed rapidly. Also, you've got the election over there in Poland. Let us know how that goes, man. I'm praying for you. Who would you pick between Ray Mercer and Alexander Povetkin, both of their Povetkin? Think Povetkin on points. I don't think he'd stop Ray Mercer. Ray Mercer was incredibly tough. Great chin. I think Povetkin would do exactly what Tommy Morrison did in the early rounds, but he would keep it up over 12 rounds, and he would stop. I mean, he wouldn't stop punching like Morrison did and then get walked over. I think he would just keep beating him up for 12 rounds. Probably win every round, actually, because I think Povetkin was a lot better technically. And I think he'd maybe survive a scare here and there, but he'd win the fight pretty easily. People say Sven Ottke would get robbery wins. How come heavyweight challenger Axel Schultz never got his decision in close fights against both and Mora? Well, every single time, look this up as well, every single time a German fought for the heavyweight title, they got robbed. Every single time. Axel Schultz was only one example of this. Every single time, I think like 3 Germans around about that era fought for the heavyweight title, and they all got robbed. And yeah, that was one of the worst ones. Axel Schultz versus George Foreman. And yeah, it was a shame, man. What's next for not Foreman? You know who I'm talking about, but he did fight Foreman too. He did get robbed against him, yeah. But those fights as well. What was next for Eubank and Conor Bum? Probably a rematch. They're talking about them fighting again because where else do they go? Neither one of those guys is good enough to beat a world-class opponent, but they're good enough to make money fighting each other. The Nepo babies, as Reverse Lee calls them. I think that's. I've not even watched the first fight. I had no interest in it. I heard it was a good fight. I've just got no interest. But I think logically it makes sense for them to fight again because, like I said, they're not gonna go anywhere aside from that. Jindro breathing on his own again, but still hasn't woken up. Reason why sanctioning bodies and state committees need to be held accountable for preventable tragedies. Same thing could happen to Pat. Yeah, I definitely think he needs to be medically cleared to fight. But let's not forget. Look, guys in their 50s have boxed professionally, so as long as he passes a medical, they'll let him do it. They will. Yeah, he did. Axel Schultz beat Foreman. He got robbed. Do you have a video of Ottke versus Mitchell, Nordic? Can't seem to find the fight. Yeah, I do. I've got 2 versions of it. I've got the English version and I've got the what do you call it? The German version. I'll upload both of them. I tell you what I'll do. Do you know on my Nordic Fights channel, I will upload all the Sven Ottke fights on there. I've just not had the time to do it, but I'm going to record them all using my capture card because I've got them all on DVD and that, and I'll upload them all to that channel. So once that's done, I'll notify you guys on here, and I'll upload and publish all them. But yeah, like I said, I've got 2 versions of the Mitchell fight. I've got the English version and I've got the German version. I don't rate Tiafimo at all, personally. Fanboys that completely disappeared after the man lost, where the the Ngannou fanboys after AJ decapitated him. Yeah. People were saying Ngannou, could beat like world class heavyweight boxers just because of that fixed fight with Tyson Fury. Like they didn't realize that was literally just a work, that fight, and they put him in with AJ in a real fight. AJ, who's not as good as Fury, and you saw exactly what happened. Greetings to Nordic and chat. Yeah, how's it going, Iron Fist? Got it for Taylor, but he drowned himself in poison, alcohol, and yayo probably as well. Yeah, he doesn't live the life. And look, like I said earlier, his heart is not in boxing anymore. But he had a great career, had a great run. He achieved more than any other British fighter in history, and he set a standard. So I think I'm going to enjoy like rewatching his career. But I hope he calls it a day now. I hope he gives up. I genuinely do. Foreman versus Mora was a very brave performance from Foreman. He came forward all night, took belters, and yet finished on his game plan. One of my favourites to watch for sure. Yeah, and it's kind of like he baited Mora in by throwing light punches and making him think he was too tired to throw with power, and then he caught him with that one big shot and finished him. It was quite good. Yeah, I like rewatching that too. Yeah, you're better off just beating people up in sparring. Wait for the trade. That's what I've been doing, mate. Last couple of weeks sparring, I've not been faffing about. I go in there, I go forward the whole time. Even if I get hit, I keep my chin tucked, keep my guard up, and I throw punches. When my opponent throws, I throw with them. And generally, I find I seem to be getting the better of it, even if I'm in weight guys heavier than me. So I'll keep it up. I'm still training. I'm training like a madman, sparring pretty much every session now. And again, like I said, I've changed my approach to sparring. I'm taking the Rocky Marciano approach. I'm getting low. I'm keeping a low center of gravity. I'm pushing forward, and I'm throwing punches, and I'm not holding back. And it's worked a lot better for me. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if I get a fight. I want to fight this year. I'm determined. And look, with the kind of guys I've been in with, I'm not sparring with bums. I'm sparring with guys who can fight, and I'm giving as good as I get. So yeah, there's no doubt I should be fighting soon. Definitely should happen. But again, you don't know that. You don't know if Manny will win because he's 46 years old. You don't know if he's got the stamina to go 12 rounds. So again, it's easy to say that, but it's you just don't know. You just don't know, man. Yeah, Michael Moore was very overrated. Fast hands, good power. A monster at light heavyweight, was kind of undersized at heavyweight. Yeah, he was very chinny too. Michael Moore, he couldn't take a punch, and he would often like have defensive lapses in fights where he would get a little bit too cocky and get himself caught. He was a very flawed fighter, but he did have skills. He was all right. He wasn't too bad, You've lost a ton of weight, brother. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I've been training a lot lately. That's why. And plus, see, because of my job, because I've got 2 jobs now, both of them require me to be on my feet all day. So I have to keep fit for my 2 jobs. I couldn't do what I'm doing now if I was still like badly overweight. So yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, my diet's been a lot better too. I've been eating a lot of protein and just living the life. I've been looking after myself, Thanks. Shows that it is possible, even in your 30s, Fans nitpick resumes of great champions as if they're on the spectrum. But when a hyped, protected prospect like Itauma beats up part-time boxers, they behave as if they saw a generational great. Yeah. Again, look, Itauma has done nothing yet. I'm not saying he's not good. But let's see where Itauma goes. Let's see how good he is when he steps up and gradually increases his opposition. I would like to see the guy take his time and actually develop, because he could genuinely be a world-class fighter one day. We just need to see how he develops, and he needs to stay hungry. It's like Joe Calzaghe was saying. Like when Joe Calzaghe won the title, he still saw himself as a challenger. He didn't have that champion mindset. He had the challenger's mindset. He trained like the challenger. He fought like the challenger. He wanted to stay motivated and wanted to keep improving. And that's why he lasted so long. A guy like Itauma's getting so much hype now But like, it's like, even if he gets to world level, is he going to stay there? No, no, because he's probably going to develop that arrogance that he doesn't need. He needs to know he's still a young prospect and he's still got a lot of work to do. You know, you look like a different person. Yeah, thanks, man. I don't have that moon face anymore. I used to have a big head like that size, isn't it? It's funny. See, when I look at my passport photo, I'm like, I'm like, who's that guy? Look like the fat guy off Lost, you know? Oh, it's funny, man. Cheers. I appreciate it. Bekole looked extremely unhealthy in his last. Yeah, he did. He looked. I mean, he looked even like he looked in even worse shape than he did in the Parker fight. So it's like, did he even train after the Parker fight? That's what I'm concerned about. Like, does that guy even, does he train at all? Even when he's got a fight coming up, never mind in between fights, does he even train for fights? Sometimes you wonder, you know. The Ruiz defeat looks worse because of the way Ruiz. Yeah, exactly. Because of Ruiz's body type, and because of AJ being a big bodybuilder, it's just like a freak show, isn't it? That's what people think when they see that. They think, oh, you know, a big bodybuilder was knocked out by a fat guy. It's one of them things that you put on YouTube. It's kind of like fat guy destroys bodybuilder, you know, one of them like freak show type things. So it's hard to really recover from that mentally, you know. That's what it seems like to me. Michael Mora also stopped Girov in the 9th in 2004 when Mora was years past his prime. The Tony fans ever bring this up in argument? Mate, Tony fans act as if Girov was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. They act as if Girov was like Ivan Drago or something. He was literally just like a one-dimensional slapper, one of the weakest cruiserweight title holders in history. So I don't know why anybody even cares that Tony beat that guy. It's like, and I don't think he even beat him. I thought Girov won that fight clearly. So yeah, it means nothing to me, that fight, you know. What do you think of Dave Allen versus Wilder? Dave Allen could probably beat Wilder now. I'm not even joking. He probably could. I'm not saying he definitely would, but if he just went in there and set about him and swung for him, he could knock Wilder out now. Wilder is beyond shot, I think, you know. Oh yeah, 78 Sports TV is still a Wilder fan. Of course he is, because Wilder gets him views because he comes on the channel and gets him views, you know. What is Bosch supposed to mean? I'm not from the UK, so I don't know why people find it. Mate, I don't know what it means. Isn't it like a brand of washing machines or dishwashers or something? I don't know. But it's like, again, that's literally, no disrespect to Johnny Fisher. No disrespect to the guy. But that is his claim to fame. The reason why we know who Johnny Fisher is, and we're talking about Johnny Fisher, the reason why Johnny Fisher sells tickets, the reason why Johnny Fisher gets on pay-per-view shows, and like the reason for that is because his dad is a fat guy who says Bosch in interviews. That's literally his claim to fame. Now, I can't get my head around that. I don't understand why that in itself makes a guy famous, makes a guy popular, and causes a genuine interest in his career as a boxer. Because like if you just saw Johnny Fisher's like boxing career, like if you saw one of his fights and you looked at his record, you wouldn't really think anything of it. You just think, oh, he's a low level sort of club fighter, heavyweight, but a guy who's unbeaten, right? That's what you would think. But because his dad is a fat guy who says Bosch in interviews and talks about eating Chinese, that has made this random like area level, low level heavyweight prospect into like a guy who's been talked about as a future world champion, like just because of that, you know. It's crazy, man. Oh. Axel Schultz was a solid fighter. Yeah, he was, and yeah, he got robbed of the heavyweight title on several occasions. You know, should have been Germany's second heavyweight champion after Max Schmeling. He should have been, you know. Who would you pick between Tua and Old Foreman, Mercer versus Ibeabuchi, and Morrison versus what? I think Ibeabuchi would probably outwork Mercer, and I give Mercer a puncher's chance, but Ibeabuchi's work rate and durability might have been a bit too much. You know, he was a guy who just wouldn't stop fighting. So I go with Ibeabuchi on points. Morrison versus Dillian White. That's whoever lands first. I give Dillian a puncher's chance. He's the bigger guy, maybe more naturally heavy-handed, but Morrison's a lot faster. and a lot more explosive and just a better athlete in general. I go with it's a mid to late knockout either way, but I go with Morrison. I think he was a little bit better, like technically a little bit better. He would be the guy to get there first, I think. Tua versus Old Foreman. Probably Old Foreman, because I think Tua probably, like, would throw a lot more and he'd apply a lot more pressure, but Old Foreman would probably catch him on the way in and land the more eye-catching punches and probably win on points. So, yeah, I'd probably not confident on that one, but I'd probably go with Old Foreman on points. Just sort of a quality over quantity kind of thing. Yeah, what's happening, man? Hope all is well and blessed. There's a saying, the inmates are running the asylum. In boxing this year, it's for the hardcore mongoloids at the helm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? I actually think both beat Schultz in their fight. Throughout, outworked him and just did enough. Could see an argument for Schultz winning. Yeah, that was a very, very close one. Very close one. Yeah, how's it going, Scar? God bless you, man. And oh, your old dad, how's it been, man? Yeah, God bless you. It's been a while. How you doing, man? Yeah, time for the Polish to breed more. What do you think about Fundora versus Zoo 2? Well, yeah, co-main to Pac Barrios. Well, Zoo looked terrible against Muratalev. He got absolutely bitch slapped in that fight, and I think that first Fundora fight took a lot out of him. So I don't really know. I don't know, man. Like if it was Zoo from the first fight, like if he was in that sort of condition, I'd be picking him to win by stoppage, to be honest. But I actually favour Fundora because I think Zoo has looked so bad in his last fight, and he's kind of I don't know if he's really recovered from those two fights. Yeah, I'll probably go with Fundora on points. I think just use his height and reach, just pick and prod with the jab, and he'll probably win. It'll probably be controversial. So yeah, I'll probably go with Fundora by a controversial decision. That's kind of how I could see that fight going. Quantity over quality in that case, That's how I could see it. Michael Moore is skint now in America. The fighter has to pay the promoters, manager, and trainers taxes. He's got a huge tax bill. Korean, yeah, that's a shame, man. Because that's why you should really like invest your money and all that. You should be more careful with it during your career because once that money stops coming in, you're going to need to at least invest it or find a different form of income. And a lot of these guys don't have another income, do they, when they retire? Facts, I want Moses to develop slowly, but unfortunately, the WBO has put him in number one. So my expectation of his next opponent is going to be very high. Yeah. And that's the fault of the people backing Moses Itauma, like Frank Warren and all that. It seems like they've put him into a position where he's got it's like sink or swim. They've not given him the opportunity to really build up his experience because they've put all this pressure on him by getting him that rating and by hyping him so much in the media that he's going to feel like he has to fight at world level. So yeah, that could completely ruin the guy's career. I genuinely, do you know what? I'm actually quite positive it will, unless they wind their necks in a little bit and admit that he's not ready for that level and step him down and allow him to build up his experience away from the limelight. But will they do that? No, probably not, because they want to make money and they want to make money as quickly as they can. Just going to the bathroom. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, where was I? Did you hear Aaron Barkley being hospitalized due to a stroke? I think he's getting better. No, I didn't hear about that. Yeah, God bless him. Hopefully he recovers from it. I didn't know about that. Big John Fisher had been popping up on adverts on YouTube promoting solar panels. Has he? Has he really? Has he been saying Bosch in the adverts? Has he? No, did you have any World Cup picks for us? No, I don't watch football, so I have no idea. Sorry. I literally know nothing about football. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. So I can't help you there, I'm afraid. Who would you have in Fraser versus White? White would be too big for Fraser. Fraser would get inside and try to maul him. White would just like club him around the side of the head, throw him around the ring, and probably knock him out. He's just too big. If they were the same size, I'd give Fraser a chance. But White's far too big and heavy for him, you know. Only guy from today's era being able to fight to White Fraser out like Foreman did is Zhang. I think most heavyweights of this day would wipe Fraser out because they're just too big. You don't really get heavyweights of his size anymore, and when you do, they don't go very far. You know. The most brutal knockout you've ever seen at heavyweight, another weight class in general. I'll tell you what was one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen at heavyweight was Robert Helenius when he knocked out Sergei Liakovic. Go and look at that. Like that was insane, that knockout. That was just pure brutality. Try to think of brutal knockouts I've seen outside of heavyweights. Just in any weight class. I think Pacquiao versus Hatton was quite bad. Like the way he just like leaned to the left and then came over the top with that left hand, and it just caught him square on the chin, and you just see his whole body shiver. His whole body shook from it. That was quite a brutal one too. That one is the immediate one that comes to mind. You know, Fundora, Virgil, and Zoo Thurman would have been ideal. Seems like Muratalev is going to move up to get a meaningful fight after the Zoo beatdown. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Nobody seems to be in a rush to fight that guy, do they? Like nobody seems to be too keen on that. And I think we all know why. Because the guy's got the Turbiev vibes, and he's one of these Chechen guys who just looks like he's flipping made of steel or something. And it just seems like every punch he lands causes your whole body to just quake in fear. You know, that's what it seems like. So yeah, I doubt that guy's going to get any meaningful fights anytime soon. Sadly. Yeah, how's it going, CPB? Been a while, man. How you doing? God bless you. Akoli months ago was rated number 1 at the WBC, was he? I didn't even know that. Well, he could have pushed for a title shot. I wonder why he didn't, you know? I mean, he'd have gotten one if he pushed for it, I think. So, yeah. Any memories of Larry Merchant? My favourite memory of Larry Merchant is when they were talking, you know, when David Haye fought Klitschko, and they were talking about the ring being wet because it was raining, and then Larry Merchant said, "I think David Haye's wet the ring." Brilliant. Or of course the obvious one, like if I was 50 years younger, I'd kick your ass. Or the what was it he said? When Mayweather fought that guy, that paedophile, what's his name? That guy, Carlos Baldomir, and then and then he said, if it was such an exciting fight, why did half of the crowd leave or something like that? Or why were people walking out? Like Larry Merchant was so based. I mean, he had his moments where he annoyed me, like again when he would commentate on Butterbean's fights, and he would always like talk crap and like act as if he didn't want to be there. But like when he was like roasting guys like Mayweather or David Haye, it was really funny. Like Larry Merchant was based. I liked him. I miss him. God bless him. Moses Itauma bandwagon is the size of a P&O Cruise now. I like him as a fighter, but the internet's getting carried away, hailing him as the chosen one. Exactly. He's not ready yet. Let the guy develop. I said this on my last stream. Let the guy get some experience and develop into a good fighter. Like because he hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't achieved anything yet. All right, he's still a prospect, and if you throw him in at the deep end, he's not going to be able to handle it most likely. So just let the guy build up his experience and develop. At least that's what I would do if I was managing him. I reckon Johnny's dad said Bosh when his son got laid out. Yeah, probably. Bosh. That's his claim to fame. His dad's a fat guy who says Bosh in interviews and talks about eating Chinese. What a claim to fame for someone to have. I watched the Ben Whittaker Lean Cameron fight at the NEC. I was really confused with the stoppage. From where I was sitting, it's quite an awkward angle. I didn't even watch it. I've not seen that fight yet. In fact, I've not seen a single whole fight of Ben Whittaker. So I don't even know how good he is, if truth be told. I've only seen like short clips and that. Klitschko knocking out Pulev was nasty. A left hook landed nice. Yeah, that was perfectly timed. Like Klitschko's left hook was one of the best left hooks ever. Maybe even the best left hook ever in boxing. It was brutal, man. It was. Pacquiao KO over Ricky. He ate all the pies. Fatten was quite scary looking back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Just the way he wound up on it, and it was like hitting a heavy bag. Because Hatton was right there. He didn't even move his head. Managers went, boom, and turned it over perfectly. That's one of the most clinical knockouts you'll ever see. Again, I've not watched Ben Whittaker, so I don't know. I don't know how good he is. I've got absolutely no idea. Yeah, Klitschko knockout against Austin. He didn't even throw the right hand. He just jumped in and threw a bunch of left hooks, and the guy was out cold on his feet. That was quite brutal. Oh yeah, Povetkin White. See, that's one of my favorite knockouts. It was like feint the jab, slip, bam, and he came up with the uppercut. I've tried that in sparring. Difficult combination to throw, but it works occasionally. But it's very difficult to get power on a shot like that. Because again, what Povetkin did, he feinted the jab, must have just not thrown anything on it. And then as he feinted it, he bent his left knee and then came up with the left uppercut. But Povetkin's technique and timing must have been absolutely perfect to get the power he did on that punch. Because I practice that combination a lot. I practice it in shadow boxing. I practice it on the bag and stuff. Very difficult combination to throw and to actually get power on. So that's a very interesting knockout to me. It really is. Best left hook I've seen at heavyweight was Morrison's on Razor Ruddock. Oh yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, Morrison had a great left hook. He was known for his left hook, and Povetkin had a great one as well. When he landed his. I remember Merchant called Morales and Pacquiao tough as weeds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did as well. Trying to think who was it? Yeah, David Price. I forgot all about that one. Povetkin's left hook against David Price. That was one of the best knockouts ever. Totally brutal. Like Povetkin's left hook was incredible. Larry Merchant, after Lewis was knocked out by Rackman, he just drowned at Ocean's 11. Yeah, yeah, because he was filming Ocean's 11 with Vladimir Klitschko on the build up to that fight, wasn't he? Yeah. Merchant had his moments, but he messed up when he was drilling Hopkins when he had his daughter with him. Picked the wrong moment to do so. Yeah. I see what you mean there. Don't want to do it in front of his daughter. Merchant said to Hopkins, "You've paid to do nothing." When he fought a bum Mando. yeah. He had no filter, did he? Like Larry Merchant. It was funny then. It was. Sad irony of all the people responsible for the Itauma mass hype are the first people who are going to be jumping off the bandwagon if he loses. Boxing fans are the most reactive of the world. Yeah, mate, as soon as he loses, they'll be calling him a hype job and jumping onto the next guy instead of taking responsibility for pushing the guy too hard and too fast and putting too much pressure on him that he clearly isn't ready for, And it'll be people like me keeping it consistent and saying, listen, I told you guys he wasn't ready for this, So yeah, that was look again. Just come back here when it all goes wrong, when they throw him in with at world level and he gets upset by somebody at that level and ends up like not living the life and stuff like that. That'll happen. I'm telling you, if they're not careful with that guy. Oh yeah, yeah. Larry Merchant would get cancelled, no doubt, if he said that today. First video I ever saw on the YTBC was Hatman crying about Klitschko Povetkin. That's one of the funniest, like, mental breakdowns you'll ever come across on the internet. It's too funny, man. It really was. Yeah, the left uppercut is a very difficult punch to master. It's an awkward move for most people. Povetkin and Golovkin had great left uppercuts. Yeah, it's just difficult because it's your lead uppercut. It's difficult to get power on. Like, you can throw that punch, but it's difficult to kind of throw it off something else and get power on it. That's what I find anyway. But I practice it quite a lot. I genuinely practice that punch. We need a Larry Merchant and Black Skellington commentary team. Could you imagine that? Put those two together. That'd be quite funny. Thoughts on your favorite fighter, Beyonce, the Bronze Bomber, Windmills returns. And who's he fighting? Like, I did read that Wilder was coming back, but I forgot who they said the opponent was. I've completely forgotten who it was. Like, can you guys remind me? Because I don't know who it is he's fighting. Yeah, how's it going, Lee? Good to see you, man. How you doing? How was the Taylor Esserman event? I was talking about it earlier. Like, it was a crazy event because, like, we got there at about 6:30. Every single fight ended within 4 rounds. Obviously, before the main event, all of them ended within 4 rounds, and it was crazy. Like, there was so many knockouts, and fights that were meant to be like competitive ended early. So we ended up like going home at about 10:30, like after the main event. The main event actually finished before 10:30, so I'm kind of glad about that. It was like a quick night, and we managed to go home and play Xbox, so it was good. But yeah, it was interesting because I know I'm repeating myself here. I was talking about this earlier, but my mate was rooting for Echo because he's a good friend. He's good friends with Echo, and I was obviously rooting for Josh, so that made it a little bit awkward. But basically, it was like Taylor went out, and definitely he was the better fighter of the two. Like, he dominated the first few rounds. Everybody could see it. He was using his jab, which is something he hasn't used well in a while. Like, he was doing the things he used to do early in his career. He was boxing at long range. He looked strong, and Echo couldn't really deal with it. But it was like by the third or by the fourth round, Taylor just kind of lost interest, and he just stopped throwing punches. It's like he couldn't get the guy out of there, so he just gave up mentally, and he allowed Echo, who was very durable and very fit, he allowed him to get back into it and nick the fight off him basically. So yeah, it was kind of sad to watch. If truth be told, I think Taylor shouldn't be losing at that level, given the fact that he's a undisputed lineal champion. Again, I covered this earlier in the stream if you want to go back and watch it. But, Taylor went from being undisputed lineal champion, achieving more than any British fighter has achieved before, to losing at that level. It's kind of sad to watch. And it proves that kind of his heart's not in boxing anymore. That's all it is. So, yeah, I feel like it was a good event. It was a good fight and all that, but it was kind of sad to watch when you think of what could have been if Taylor had proper development in his career, and if he continued to live the life and whatnot. It was sad, but it is what it is. It's been done. He had a great career, and I'll enjoy looking back on it. I disagree with you on Fraser versus White Nordic. Fraser fought Buster Mathis, who was about White's size. You watch that fight, Mathis is much quicker and more durable than White. I don't know, man. I've not seen Fraser versus Buster Mathis, so I'll need to look at it. But from what I feel right now, I think White would be too big and too strong for him, personally. Dream commentary. I'd say probably Larry Merchant, maybe Enzo Macronelli. He was a good commentator. And who else, man? Who else would make a good commentator with them? I don't know. Throw like Norman Stone or someone like that in. That'd be quite funny. That'd be crazy. Can you imagine that? Oh yeah. Povetkin's his left hook he landed on Takam was brutal. That right on the chin as well. He just was out cold. That was brutal. Wilder's fighting a complete pudding. I don't know who it is he's fighting. I read the name, but I've completely forgotten. Yeah, the overhand left Golovkin had. He would throw it kind of like that, over the guard. So his opponent's guard's here, and then the temple area, the side of the head, he would he would aim for the temple area, and he would turn the punch over just at the right moment, and he would often discombobulate the opponent and knock them out. So yeah, he had a fantastic left hook. It was a great shot, very effective. Yeah, thankfully, women's boxing is starting to die out. Well, it's about bloody time, isn't it? It's about bloody time. You know, shouldn't have existed in the first place. Yeah, I could see that. Like Golovkin seemed to be hurtful with every single punch. Every single punch he threw was with power, and I don't think Golovkin, unless he's fighting Canelo in a fake fight, like every single punch he throws, like there was no wasted energy. Everything he threw was thrown with intent to try and knock the opponent out, or at least set the opponent up for the knockout. He didn't waste any energy at all. Very efficient with his technique, is what I'd say. Yeah, yeah. Taylor crumbled in the later rounds. He just gave up. He just lost interest. I don't even think he gassed because he was the same from like round 4 through to round 12. He just gave up. That's all it was. He just his heart's not in it, as far as I'm concerned. My opinion, he just didn't put it all on the line. Yeah, and I've maintained to this day he would have beaten Crawford. Like Taylor, like from that time when he fought Ramirez, when he was really training hard and living the life. If he'd have gotten the Terence Crawford fight then at welterweight, he would have beaten Crawford. No doubt about it in my mind. Like, and it'll never happen. The fight will never happen now, obviously. So I'd never be able to like brag about it and that. But I'm telling you right now, that fight had happened then. Josh Taylor would have beaten up Crawford, maybe even stopped him. Definitely would have won it though. I've no doubt about it that Josh Taylor would have beaten Crawford. Like prime for prime, Taylor would have won. No doubt about it. Random freak shows. Roy Jones versus Nikolai Valiev. Valiev would just be way too big for Roy Jones. I mean, look how easily Valiev beat John Ruiz. Like I think he would just keep Roy at long range, pummel him with the jab, maybe knock him out late. If he didn't knock him out, just win on points. Roy wouldn't even be able to hit Valiev. Valiev would just outbox him easily at long range. Just too big, way too big. Roy couldn't hurt him. Roy couldn't intimidate him. Nothing. Valiev would win easily, I think. Same with James Toney. Valiev would easily beat James Toney, in my opinion. Oh yeah, Henzo's a bit punch drunk, but he was a great commentator when he used to commentate. Like he was one of my favorite British commentators back in the day. Yeah, Callum Smith's got a good left hook, particularly to the body. His left hook to the body is great. He turns it over well. But he lands it to the head well too. He's quite underrated actually. Povetkin definitely has one of the best highlight reels in boxing. Highlight knockout reels in boxing. When he hits someone flush, they didn't see the punch coming. They were sleeping on the canvas. Yeah, like when Povetkin hit you just right, you could count to 30, and you wouldn't. The opponent wouldn't get up. One of the most clinical knockout artists in boxing. Absolutely clinical. He was so accurate and such great technique. Most meme-worthy knockout ever in boxing is Costa Zoo against Jab Judy. Yeah, with the chicken dance, where he gets dropped, he gets up, and he does that little dance and falls over. That was a meme-worthy knockout, and it's his own fault. He got up too quickly. Like I still think he would have got knocked out anyway, but he got up too quickly and ruined his chances of recovering. What do you think? Valiev, Holyfield. Yeah, Holyfield won that fight, but I think it was fixed. I think Valiev carried Holyfield and he didn't even try. I think that fight was a work. I genuinely do, but it's one of the most bizarre works out there because Valiev showed throughout that fight he could do whatever he wanted. Whenever he threw a punch, like he pretty much landed, but he threw so little punches and he just allowed Holyfield to move around him and pot shot him all night. Like he didn't want to hurt the old man. Like I genuinely think it was just a work. And they gave Valiev the decision. But I think Holyfield clearly won the fight. But if Valiev had come to win, he would have won clearly. I think he would have stopped him. I think he would have won easily, if truth be told, if it was a real fight, Usyk would outbox Valiev. I tell you why. Valiev wasn't very good against southpaws. Usyk would do exactly what Ruslan Chagayev did, but a lot worse. It would move around him laterally, jab him to the body, outbox, outwork him. And I think he'd win on points easily. Probably 21-08. Every round would be. I don't think he'd drop him or stop him, but I think because Valorant was too tough and too durable for that. So I think Usyk would just outbox him easily and win a 12-0 decision. I think. Wilder versus Bruno. But yeah, Usyk would win a wide unanimous decision. It'd be more one-sided than the Chigaev fight. Wilder versus Bruno. I think Wilder has a puncher's chance early in that fight. Like he could catch Bruno, but I think Bruno was a lot physically stronger and had much more of a punch variety and was just a better technical boxer in general. So I would favour Bruno probably by a late knockout. I think he would catch Wilder at some point, knock him out. He had just as much power, or just enough power to get the job done. So yeah, I'd favour Bruno by knockout, probably late in the fight. My favourite British fighters ever, got to be like Joe Calzaghe, probably. Obviously, Josh Taylor. Was a big fan of Ricky Hatton back in the day. Scott Harrison, obviously. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. I like Enzo Macronelli as well. Yeah, there's a lot of British fighters I like. Probably too many to mention. There's a lot of them. Reg Gutteridge and Jim Watt or Glenn McCrory and Ian Darke best comment. I don't like Ian Darke. That guy was awful, but I do like Glenn McCrory. I wasn't a fan of Jim Watt, but in retrospect, he was a lot better than most of them. Glenn McCrory was a great commentator. I actually did like him as a commentator. Not sure about Reg Gutteridge, but Glenn McCrory was a good commentator. Great one, yeah. Valorant would land a forearm shot on Roy Jones and Roy would fall to the ground from the sheer weight of the blow. Probably would. How much heavier would Valorant be than Roy? What would Valorant be, like 30 stone or something? Maybe 28 stone. Roy's what? How heavy was Roy when he fought Ruiz? Well, like 210 pounds, something like that. That's him at his heaviest in his career. I mean, like Valorant would be well over 300 pounds for some fights. Like Andy's about 7'2". Like, no, he's too big. Like Roy wouldn't be able to compete. Valorant would be far too big. Favorite obscure fighters ever? So you mean like fighters hardly anyone's heard of, kind of thing? I don't know, man. Let me think about that. Obscure fighters. I kind of liked someone like Jürgen Bremer. No one ever talked about him, but I always found him really entertaining. So maybe someone like him. I know he was a champion, but he didn't get much. He didn't get much like hype, did he? So yeah, maybe him. DAZN and Sky commentary is shocking. Yeah, always has been. DAZN's probably the worst. Like without a doubt, it's just awful. It's intolerable to me. One of the funny things I've seen was when Ruiz versus Galata was happening and Stoney is in the back room cursing and anxiously waiting for the scorecards. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was another like gift decision, wasn't it? Like Ruiz got a gift decision there against Galata. Overused fantasy fights. Well, the obvious one there is Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. That's the obvious one. Everyone always goes on about that, and it's kind of annoying. I can't really think of any other that's overused. Would you rather drink a gallon of Diet Iron Brew while attending a women's boxing event or swim 100 laps in an Olympic-sized pool diesel with Floyd Mayweather yelling, hard work, hard work? Probably the diesel. Probably, because watching a women's boxing event would make me want to like cut myself afterwards or something. So yeah, probably. Oh yeah, Denis Shafikov, he was very good fighter. He was the best lightweight for several years. And Nicky Cook was an all right domestic level fighter who won a title. Yeah, he was all right. Yeah, pool filled with diesel. Yeah, Jürgen Bremer's chin was fantastic. Like, go look at that fight he had with Dmitry Sokotsky. I think it was in round 10 or something. He like starts hitting Bremer with a bunch of uppercuts. And his head's just snapping about all over the place, and he barely even blinks. Like, it's crazy. That guy had a crazy chin. And he was a good technical boxer as well, Bremer. Like, very underrated. I used to really enjoy watching him fight back in the day. Obscure fighter. was the Argentina boxer who used to smoke in the corner. Forgot his name. Are you on about? No, I'm thinking of Mayorga. He used to smoke. No, not him. He's Nicaraguan, isn't he? See, I don't know who you're on about. Argentinian boxer who used to smoke in the corner. I'm sure someone will bring it up. Probably. Do you know? I disagree there. I actually think Ian Darke was worse than Adam Smith. I actually think Ian Darke. I thought that guy was awful commentator. Never liked him one bit. Wasn't the worst though, like on Sky. I think the worst commentator that Sky had, at least out of their main commentators, was Nick Halling. That guy was atrocious. He was the worst. He's the guy who convinced everybody that Paul Smith beat Arthur Abraham. You know, that clown. Just pushing pushing pure propaganda. That's all he was all about. I swear I've heard AJ versus Bruno asked 10,000 times. Yeah, I've heard, that's actually true. I've heard that many times. AJ versus Bruno, because AJ is like the modern day Bruno. So people always imagine like who was better out of the two, who would have won. I actually think AJ would have beaten Bruno. I do. I think he was a very similar fighter, but a lot more athletic and a lot more naturally talented. I think a little bit bigger too, a little bit better stamina. Not by much, mind, but yeah, I think AJ would have probably beaten Bruno. Adam Way, in no way related to the tragedy where there was the bombing. Yeah, that was. Why would he even say that? Like, as if anybody in that arena saw Tony Bellu's tattoo and thought this guy must be a terrorist sympathizer. I don't think anybody actually thought that. And if they did, well, they should get their edge checked, you know, because that's just foolishness. I cannot be arsed with work tonight. I can't. I would rather stay on this till like 9 o'clock. Got to flipping get the train to work. I can't be arsed, you know. Steve Foster Jr., Sakio Bika. yeah. I was a big fan of Sakio Bika. I used to love watching him fight. And Steve Foster Jr. had some great fights. Like that fight with Alex Harper, that was a banger. That's one of my favorite fights of all time. That was a great fight. Sakio Bika, that war he had with Jadon Codrington was crazy. It was funny. See, when I went to that meet and greet with Joe Calzaghe, he talked about Sakio Bika, and it was quite funny. He was saying, like, because the fight was on HBO. I think I don't know. It was like his second or third or something fight on HBO. So he was using that fight to kind of advertise himself to the Americans, right? He wanted to become big in America. And he said that I think it was Jim Lampley or whoever, he said, talked to him before the fight and said to him, so you chose this fight to advertise yourself to America, to get yourself like a good, like impressive knockout win and become a big draw in America. And he was like, why did you choose Sakio Bika? And he's like, oh, well, I think it's someone I can beat like relatively easily. And like, and like, it was like Jim Lampley, whoever, was like, have you seen this guy? Like, have you seen this guy fight? Like this guy's bloody tough. And then because I don't think Joe had ever even watched him before. Like, he just saw his record and kind of thought it was an easy fight. But then, like, he got in with Sakio Bika and he's like, yeah, this guy's tough. Like, that guy's a lot tougher than he expected. So, like, he basically said he was like, that was one of his hardest nights because he just did not expect it. Like, he was expecting an easy night's work, but Bika ended up giving him one of his toughest fights. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, him and Steve Foster were both very underrated. Sky have an American woman commentator for a US fight. She just screeches. Yeah, I've heard her. Like, because I've watched some of the fights on YouTube that Sky Sports upload, and they've got that woman, and she just sounds awful, doesn't she? Like a terrible commentator. Worst commentary guy I've heard is the second guy screaming in Fury Usyk in the 9th round. Can't remember his name. Yeah, who was that again? And I think I know who you're on about, but I'm forgetting the name. Yeah. Oh yeah, that fighter that you were on about. What's his name? Owen Foster mentioned him. Nicolene Locke. Yeah. I've heard the name. I don't think I've ever watched him though. Not that he's much of an obscure fighter, but I think Sugar Boy Malingo was underrated. Give Canelo problems. if he's fighting now. Yeah, Sugar Boy Malinga was good. I mean, didn't he beat Chris Eubank back in the day? Or did he lose to Chris? No, I think he beat Chris Eubank, didn't he? I forgot, but yeah, or was it? Didn't he beat Robin Reed and guys like that? He ended up losing the title to Richie Woodall. Yeah, he was a good super middleweight contender, that guy, and he was a champion for a while, WBC champion, I believe. Yeah, he was a good fighter. He was definitely a good fighter. I swear you blue collar sports precise lead blood boxing or encyclopedias. How do you have such knowledge? It was just because we watch the sport and pay attention to it, and we've been watching it for a while. We're kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. We're kind of obsessed with it. I don't know, maybe that could be why. But yeah, we do have more boxing knowledge than the average person, No, I didn't watch that. I heard about it, but I didn't watch it. Alex Arthur's son. He was a good amateur, though, him. I'm quite happy in retrospect that Nigel Benn didn't fight Sakio Bika in the end. Yeah, do you remember that was going to happen? I thought Bika was going to destroy him. I think Bika, even then, because I think he was 43 at the time, and I think Nigel Benn was in his 50s. Bika would have knocked him out easily, in my opinion. Do you know, even in his prime, I think he could have beaten Nigel Benn. I'm not even kidding. Probably on points. I think he would have beaten him. Popular opinion, Bika beats Froch prime for prime. He would tear up on his side. I agree. I said that at the time when they were talking about them fighting. Like when Bika won the WBC title and he called out Froch, he wanted that fight. Froch turned it down. I said back then Bika would beat Froch. I think he would get inside and just maul him and outwork him, kind of like Ward did, and like Kessler was able to do at times. I would favour Bika on points to win that fight. I genuinely would. I wish I could turn off commentary for fights. Would prefer sound of crowd and punches. Yeah, that would be a good feature if they added it. But the commentary exists to push propaganda, to convince you that the fight's going a certain way. That's why it's there. So they won't do that, I don't think. Not anytime soon, anyway. A grueling beatdown was when Pacquiao won the WBC lightweight championship over David Diaz. End finish was sickening. Yeah, that was kind of brutal, that fight, wasn't it? Pacquiao dominated every second of that fight. It was pretty brutal. It was. He beat Nigel Benn, but also did give Eubank tough. Yeah, that's right. He beat Nigel Benn, and I know he fought Eubank. I forget if he beat him. But yeah, I know he also beat Robin Reed too. And he lost his title later on to Richie Woodall, Locke was a badass during his time, not a puncher at all, but well-trained, reflexes like no other. Avoid any punch and smoke in the corner. He won the WBA and ring light welterweight title. Yeah, it's a good title to win if you're a guy who smokes and can't punch that much. That's quite impressive. I don't actually know much about his career, though. I do know the name, but I don't know much about the career. So I need to look into it. I think Froch would have lost to James DeGale if they fought. Well, put it this way. I think Froch at his absolute prime would beat James DeGale in a close fight. But when there was talks of them fighting. So that was when, let's not forget, that was Froch at the end of his career when DeGale was at his prime. I think then DeGale would have won on points. But prime for prime, I think Froch would win. At DeGale's prime, when Froch was on his last legs, I think DeGale would win on points. That's how I see that. I know a lot of about European boxing, not much else. Yeah. So I pay more attention to European boxing than I do like American boxing, for example, which makes sense with me being European, Commentary is pointless, honestly, with 3 or 4 idiots of nowadays, yeah. Yeah, it would be good if you had people who actually were honest, about their their assessment of the fight, not where they're just there to blow smoke and push propaganda, Hey, how's it going, Tom? God bless you, man. Yeah, Bika was very tough before Joey fought Marcus Bayer, and for the head clash looks like a difficult task for Bayer. Yeah, true. Bayer was winning the fight, like he was winning the rounds, but Bika was like giving him problems and applying pressure. And yeah, the clash of heads ended that fight early. It would have been interesting. Like, I think Bale would have won on points, but it would have been interesting if the cut hadn't happened and it had been allowed to continue, you know? I remember when James DeGale was a fat kid, or was he now? Is that why they called him Chunky? That's why he got that nickname. Yeah, I agree. The 2014 Froch would have lost to DeGale at 2014, I think. Prime for prime, I'd have DeGale ahead 8 rounds, but I think Froch was finished strong in a close decision. DeGale would have won 2015. That's exactly how I see it, personally. That's exactly how I see it, you know. I'd have actually favoured DeGale to beat Groves in a rematch if it happened 2015, 2017. I don't know about that. Maybe. Like, I think Groves stylistically was a very hard fight for DeGale. Like Michael Maloney says here, he might have had his number. Like, Groves' lead hand control and that kind of herky-jerky style, I think would have always been a problem for DeGale. I would have favoured him to beat DeGale again in a close fight. Like, I didn't know if I thought that at the time. I do think that now, in retrospect, you know. Darren Barker's commentary. Oh, left hook. Oh, look at that jab. Hrgovic looks gas, yeah. Oh, lovely jab. Oh, lovely jab. He says that all the time, doesn't he? Bloody annoying. Yeah, I think Kovalev will tell all someday about what happened, especially if he moves back to Russia. I hope he does. I hope he writes a book about it and talks about throwing that fight, you know, and talks about who it was that convinced him to throw it and why he did it. I hope he does. I hope it becomes common knowledge, you know. Locke beat a puncher called Fuji, Japanese fighter, in round 0 as Fuji quit because he couldn't connect at all, swung himself to the canvas, exhaustion as well. Yeah. So he just kind of like made the guy miss and tired him out, essentially. Might check that out eventually. Groves boxed twice that day in the amateurs. Yeah, DeGale and someone else, didn't he? And I thought he clearly beat DeGale in both fights, actually. You know, I rewatched that fight last year. Groves versus DeGale won. Groves versus DeGale as a pro. I thought he won it pretty clearly, actually. Yeah, Froch was a sloppy boxer, quite poor technique, but very tough and durable. Froch's YouTube channel has managed to convince people that he was unbelievable. He barely beat Jean Pascal. I know. He went life and death with Jean Pascal, who no one considers world class, but he was an elite fighter, unbeatable, I guess. Ridiculous. Yeah, I agree. Stylistically, Groves might have DeGale's number, but Groves past the Froch knockout never looked quite the same. Gale might have beat him. Yeah, it took Groves a while to recover from that. Like, it wasn't until the Eubank fight that he started looking really good again, and even then he was worn out. You know. Yeah, my gloves are heavy. Me gloves are heavy. Yeah, I know. It's fascinating how guys like Kovalev can generate so much power with a simple jab, perfect technique and amazing power. Yeah, a lot of it comes from his feet. He has that pendulum step that they get taught to use in the Russian amateur system. So he really steps into his punches. Like, you'll notice every time Kovalev throws a punch, he does that little movement with his feet where he just like, it's like that. It's like so subtle. He steps into it, so it's like a stabbing punch. That's why when he throws straight, that's when he's extremely powerful, you know. I was so certain that Groves was going to beat Froch in the rematch at Wembley. Yeah, I wasn't personally. I picked Froch because it's not that I didn't think Groves could beat Froch, is I thought that they just wouldn't let him. The politics wouldn't let him beat him. That was why, especially after what happened in the first fight. That was what I thought going into it, you know. I meant to say round 10. All right, yeah, I was going to say there, round 0. What does that mean? But yeah, round 10. Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah. Is British boxing dead now that Taylor and Fury have gone? Well, who's the best fighter in British boxing right now? What? Kakache, Joe Cordina, Lee Wood. I mean, again, Moses Itauma. Like, who have British boxing got now? Like, what actual, like, genuine elite level talent is there in British boxing now? Like, I actually think British boxing, like 5 to 10 years ago, was booming. It was really good. Now the bubble has burst and it's gone way downhill. Like, they went from having like 12, 13 world champions to having like a couple of world champions and nobody elite. You know, Tyson Fury and Josh Taylor are the only two guys Oh no, in fact, well, Tyson Fury, Josh Taylor, and I'd say Josh Warrington are the only fighters in recent years from Britain who I genuinely believe were pound for pound level talents, potentially, or potentially could have been pound for pound level talents, right? None of them really achieved their potential, in my opinion. But aside from those three, I don't think any of the guys right now are like even close to that level. I mean, and look, a guy like Nick Ball or Kakache, those are doing very well right now. They've had some very good wins, but are they even the best guy in their division? Would Kakache even beat that Mexican guy, Nunez? Would he beat that guy? You know, how good is Joe Cordina? How good is Nick Ball? How good is Lee Wood? How good are those guys? You know, who's the best fighter now? What, Daniel Dubois? Is Daniel Dubois the best British fighter? Because if he is, that's kind of embarrassing. Like, is Itauma the only like genuine prospect? Like, I just think British boxing right now, it's in the gutter. I think it's in the gutter, right? I think it's a lot worse than people realize. And I think that once guys like Kakache retire, because he's what, 36, and you know, guys like Nick Ball, you know, you got guys towards the end of their career like Lee Wood and Josh Taylor and Tyson Fury. Once those guys are gone, Anthony Joshua, obviously, Josh Warrington, once those guys are gone, what's the next generation of British fighters? Who is there? I feel like there's going to be a real like slow period in British boxing right now, and there's no talent. Like, there's no talent coming through from what I can see, you know. So yeah, I don't think there's much to really talk about in that regard. British boxing is pants now. Best fighter is probably Dubois, and he sucks. Yeah, yeah, just like I was saying, man. Like, Dubois. Froch is such a wanker look to him. He's got skeletons in the closet for sure. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely, he's definitely a dark individual, isn't he? Dark individual. Nick Ball is a good B-level fighter for the UK, but compared to others before him, can't carry British boxing forever. Let's see with Itauma. Yeah, we'll see where Itauma goes from here. Like, again, it's there's only he's only 19, but I can't see him being a world level like pound for pound guy, not unless they bring him through properly and actually develop him, like I was talking about earlier. You know, I don't think the culture in the UK or US can bring up genuine pound for pound level fighters these days. Must be some expectations. It's definitely gotten worse. Well, we've talked before, haven't we, about how the culture in this country is to go out and get pissed every weekend. How good, how you know, how beneficial is that for, you know, generating a crop of athletes? You know, it's not really good, is it? Yeah, how's it going, Thomas? Good to see you, man. Just done an 8 to 4 or 8 to 6 shift. I want to drop dead. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I have to get going soon myself because I'm working tonight. As I talked about earlier, I'm working in a club in the city centre tonight. I can't be arsed with it at all, but yeah, got to do it, and you know, I didn't want to turn it down. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this one up pretty soon because I need to get ready. I need to get cleaned up and get my suit on and that, get ready to go. So yeah, it's just a 2-hour stream. This one been all right, and it. And yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. I appreciate it very much. I've enjoyed this one. Nice little short approaching the weekend stream. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys pretty soon. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Praise be to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And yeah, God bless each and every one of you. Stay vigilant.